But Luna helped me make this movie. Like one thing that she did beyond the grave, our associate producer, Greg Oliver, came across these tapes, these VHS tapes, and he said, "What are these?" And no one knew what they were. They were just
Whoa.
out and no one knew. And then we discovered they were all this old footage that no one knew existed of Luna's time in the late 80s at Wild Women of Wrestling. And like no one had seen this footage since the 80s.
Today on the show, we are joined with film director and pro wrestler Kate Kroll. Kate just premiered an incredible documentary that closed out the Canadian Film Festival titled Lunatic, and it tells the story of the legendary Luna Vachon. Growing up, I was so fascinated with Luna, watching her on WWF Superstars. As I mentioned in this interview, she absolutely scared the shit out of me. And over the years, I've seen some pieces on her, Dark Side of the Ring, certain specials that kind of tell the story of the tragedy of her life. But what I love so much about Kate's documentary, even though she touches up on the tragic factors of Luna's journey, we also celebrate Luna. There is layers of how she pioneered women's wrestling that I haven't even heard of until I watched this film. Also, this film has a big component on mental health awareness, not only making you understand a lot of Luna's mental state, the struggle she had, but it also left me just thinking about people in general, how our buried traumas can affect us down the line and even build up. And I can't say enough, this documentary, Lunatic, is such a beautiful piece and is the ultimate Luna Vachon documentary. And around this interview, I hope you check it out. We'll be sure to post any releases or screenings of it coming up on our socials. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into this talk with Kate. Yeah, this morning I ended up watching the film, and absolutely beautiful documentary. I can't praise you enough on that. But one thing I loved was just kind of you got Luna's origin of how she got inspired to be a wrestler from seeing a match of her dad or uncle being at that show. But I kind of want to know a bit about your journey and what inspired you to be a wrestler as well.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I grew up as a dancer. Then I was a burlesque dancer. I mean,
Okay.
I've always worked in film. I've been in the film industry for 20 years, but I was also a burlesque performer. And then somehow my burlesque world collided with wrestling. And I thought, like, what is this? And I went to training and I stepped in the ring. I thought, like, why haven't I been doing this forever? I need to do this.
Oh,
So I
cool.
started training and I married my trainer.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a cool journey too. And I guess wrestling is kind of like burlesque. It just hurts a bit more, you know?
Hurts a lot more, but it's like a beautiful dance in the ring. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And even like I was gonna ask like how did you transition into film, but you were saying the film came first, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool how you have that background and getting these new experiences being able to make docs like Lunatic. And I kind of want to know what gravitated you towards the Luna Vachon story and wanting to tell it as well.
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I with Luna, I mean, first of all, she was like she's a hero of mine, right? She's I think a lot of us female wrestlers can say that she's someone that we look up to. And
Mhm.
not even female, I mean male wrestlers too. She had an incredible character and she knew how to work it. So like there was that part, but also Luna has a very layered story and she was a very layered person, which
Mhm.
obviously makes for, a more layered film, for lack of better word. But her story, like there was just so much more to her story than just wrestling and just being a woman's wrestler and just and changing things for women.
Mhm.
That's part of it. But then, she was a mom, and a lot of people didn't know that, right?
Mhm.
Most people did not know that she was a mom. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. A lot of people didn't know that at the time. And she struggled with addiction issues.
Hmm.
So, and then all of that combined with the wrestling and concussions and being injured, it's like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot to tell there.
Yeah, definitely. And so many layers. I believe I watched another thing on her. It might have been Dark Side of the Ring. But what I really appreciated about your documentary, and like you used the word layers, like a show like that in 1 hour doesn't get the whole spectrum of actually how big this story is. And you didn't just focus on the tragedy side of things. You focused on like her pioneering and like a lot of cool things and layers that I didn't know, even being a Luna fan. And one thing I loved was kind of how you went through the different generations of wrestling and how Luna was dealing with it from the 80s to the 90s to the Attitude Era and all that too. So I just like this isn't even a question. I just like as a wrestling and Luna fan, I just thought you did a great job on that.
Thank you. I
Hmm.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And even was it hard to get like all this footage to in licensing for this documentary? Because you pretty much covered it all from her pioneering like on like the indies to getting WE footage as well.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting. You have to watch if you've seen the film, you'll know what I mean. But Luna helped me make this movie. Like you've
Okay.
seen the movie, right? So you kind of know what I'm talking about. She
Hmm.
appears throughout the film. But like one thing that she did beyond the grave, well, okay. So she used to work for a promoter named Howard Brody. Howard Brody and Craig Cohen, who we interview in the film, they ran Wild Women of Wrestling, who Luna used to work for. And about 2 weeks before I was supposed to interview Howard Brody, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very so sad. He was such a sweet, amazing person. And but at his memorial, our associate producer, Greg Oliver, came across these tapes, these VHS tapes, and he said, "What are these?" And no one knew what they were. They were just
Whoa.
out, and no one knew. And then we discovered they were all this old footage that no one knew existed of Wild Women of Wrestling. Oh, there's my husband, and and Luna's time in the late 80s at Wild Women of Wrestling, and like no one had seen this footage since the 80s. So
Whoa.
we got lucky like that. And then the Wrestling Universe, who had interviewed Luna towards the end of her career, they had like this great interview with her that they just gave to me. They're like, use it. So, we got pretty lucky, but I'd like to think that Luna helped us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you found those tapes too, because I found that was like one of the most interesting parts for me too, because I didn't know her in that time period. Like I
Mhm.
was introduced to her when I was really little, like a lot of people at WrestleMania 9. I remember renting that VHS. She scared the shit out of me, and I was also fascinated in watching all those promos. But yeah, that time and even how respected she was and that story of her being injured and also pioneering the other girls and kind of going against the grain of what Glow was doing, being more like it's again I don't like really hear in the history of pro wrestling, and I guess later in the 2000s they talk about the women's evolution or whatever, but this was like kind of like a precursor of that um
Yeah.
in-ring action over the TNA type of thing.
Yes. Yeah, it was because, Wild Women of Wrestling, they wanted to take women's wrestling seriously. And Glow was right before that. And Glow's great. Glow brought female wrestling into the center stage, into the
Hmm.
spotlight. And
Yeah, it's fun too.
yeah, it's so fun. It gave a lot of work to women. So, I mean, God bless Glow. But yeah, Wild Women of Wrestling was kind of I guess more of an evolution for sure. Wild
Hmm.
Women of Wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool that you had that in there. And another layer of the documentary too, that was kind of making me emotional, but also intrigued as well, was like the whole mental health topics and stuff like that. And even I believe like there's somebody who was like saying in the 90s we didn't really talk about that. And it kind of reminded me of some people in my family where I didn't
Mhm.
know what was going on. Like again, 90s shit, people didn't talk about it. But a lot of like even people like beyond Luna who you interviewed opened up, such as like the portion you had Ref Aubrey in talking, and it
Mhm.
was kind of moving. And like, can I get like just like a little I don't know, maybe your philosophy to be like heavy on the mental health and like kind of I don't know, educate some people who didn't know that about Luna.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So actually, like while I was developing the film and filming it, I had two friends commit suicide.
Oh man, sorry to hear
Yeah.
that.
It and so that really drove home the fact that we needed to still talk about mental health issues. And
Hmm.
I think we've gotten better now as a society. I mean, think about people who take mental health days from work now. Like that's a thing now, right? Which
Hmm.
that even 10 years ago wasn't even a thing. Um,
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot more education and sensitivity around mental health, but I just didn't want to sit like, I just didn't want to be like, oh, she was just crazy. I wanted to
Hmm.
like what happened in her life. You know, her father was diagnosed bipolar. We know it's hereditary, but we also know um, that she was sexually abused as a child,
Hmm.
a young girl. Um, we know that we know like the rock and roll lifestyle of being a wrestler, especially at that time. We know about like we know that she was on the road almost every day of the year. There were injuries, and then you self-medicate, blah blah blah. And it's like it's not ever just one thing. I feel like this contributes to that, which contributes to this, and contribute like it's all kind of connected, like a octopus with
Yeah,
tentacles.
definitely, definitely. It's
And so that was important, I think, to in order to tell her full story was to know to be able to look at all of those things.
Yeah, definitely. And I really loved how at the end too, before the credits you had that little moment where if anybody's watching who needed like help, there's was like a number and stuff to call, and like that's really nice that you do that too, because sometimes people can watch things like that too and like have these triggers as well, but it's also like something that's very important to talk about. And another thing I thought was beautiful about this movie is you caught a lot of interviews before a bunch of people passed away as well. And it was almost like just like a right place and right time of you being inspired to tell this story too. Because if you would have waited a couple years, you wouldn't have the whole picture too. So is that something you often think about, like the timing and everything?
I do. I mean, the thing is that, you know, Howard Brody passing away, I was like kicking myself because I started developing it right before COVID. And then I don't, in Canada, it was really strict, the lockdown. We were
Mhm.
on lockdown for quite a while. I couldn't do anything for a long time. And then when I finally could, um, I was like that much far further behind. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, we were the last interview that Paul the Butcher Vachon gave, like shortly after he actually lost his voice. And then we were, I think, maybe the last interview that Kevin Sullivan gave, or like one of the last. And like, and then yeah, he passed away not too long ago. I mean, when you're doing a documentary about older wrestlers, you it's scary because unfortunately a lot of wrestlers die really young.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's like almost like a rarity to get them at like the age of 80 or whatever. But
Yeah. I mean,
again, I can't praise you enough for like being able to capture this and even just honoring this legacy. And I kind of want to know like it seems like like going through the journey, like you're kind of going through Luna's shoes through her career, and it's all these intense emotions and stuff. Is there anything you really took away after completing this project with yourself? Whether you grown or just like a lesson or something like that?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of lessons. I mean, one lesson is I'm still trying to be very mindful about people's mental health, and you just never know what someone's going through.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
On the inside. And so I'm trying really hard to be like more patient with people or more understanding, and that's not always easy. But that's definitely something I walked away with. It's really funny. Another thing I walked away with is just feeling a bit more bitter.
Oh, really? Yeah, just maybe
Well,
hearing these layers and getting angry, I guess, or
I mean, just getting angry at men.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm so sorry to say that, but
No, no, it's okay. Yeah, this
I,
is you can
as
freely
we
speak
were
here.
finishing the film, right, all this stuff went down with Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's a sex trafficker. He paid women off. Like there's all these allegations that I think were proven correct to be correct. And
Hmm.
then just to look at to look at how Medusa, or sorry, Alundra Blaze in WWEF and Luna, how they were like such great athletes and they were so wonderful to watch. And
Hmm.
then when the Attitude Era came in, and then all of a sudden they were making the girls like take off their tops or like parade around in bikinis. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these are incredible athletes.
Yeah.
I
It they
mean,
just turned it to Jerry Springer all of a sudden because that
yeah,
was like the hip thing to do with that era or
at
whatever.
that era. And I mean, like, no shade. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, that's great. But just to go from that, from these incredible matches to now basically all Luna was doing is like these ridiculous, bra panty things. That
Hmm.
was like, that like really pissed me off. And just how like the women were like lambs on the slaughter block so that WWF or WCW could bring more viewers because, there were the Monday Night Wars, which
Hmm.
really played a big part of this. They had about 10 million viewers on Monday nights that each company was fighting for.
Hmm.
And the women were kind of the lambs on the slaughter block to bring viewership.
Yeah, definitely. And beyond that, underpaid. They were getting heckled the backstage and just fucked with. And yeah, yeah, it's just maybe like I think with this doc too, like some people who might not be who don't follow the wrestling world could like, I don't know, maybe have these things bring to light for them and like educate them on everything too, and just as this Vince case is going on. I shouldn't go down this rabbit hole or
I know
whatever.
I don't want to go down that
But
rabbit hole either.
yeah, but I guess like just as a final question, I get like a lot of different creatives who listen to these segments as well. And if I just want to know, like, would you have any like advice for somebody who maybe sees a story in their community or is compelled to capture something, and maybe how to take the first step towards that and making their own documentary?
Yeah, I mean, my like first advice is like just do it. No if, ands, whats, buts. Just do it. Don't overthink it. Just start. And that's kind of how it went with this movie. So basically, when I decided I was going to do it, um, like I told a person I knew who owned a gear rental company, and he loved wrestling and he loved Luna, and he's like, I'm on board. What gear do you need? And then, I pitched it to this producer, and Michael Pash, who loves
Oh,
wrestling.
I love Michael.
Do you
He's
know Michael?
yeah, yeah, Raven
Okay,
Banner, right? Yeah, yeah.
great. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Michael's my co-producer, and Raven Banner is our distributor.
Mhm.
And so Michael's like, love it, love Luna. Like, I'm on board. Raven Banner's on board. And it was
Amazing.
like every time I talked to someone, they were in. And it just started coming together. And I think when it starts coming together like that, you know you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know you've got something, right? So I'd say if things like just reach out to people, and if the pieces start falling into place, just keep going with it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
That's some sound advice, and I just want to thank you so much for your time, Kate, and also for making this documentary again. Like as an old Luna fan when I was a kid, she used to scare the shit out of me, but now as I get older, I'm like, yo, she was pretty cool, you know? It's so
Oh,
amazing to see so many layers, and even I got a lot of like inspiration from this documentary as well for my own creative projects, just how bold and fucking just balls to the wall she was. I just kind of want to take that approach to
mhm.
things. And yeah, it's just so cool that you told this story. And we're definitely going to be sharing it on our socials as the film gets released. And if it has like some VOD releases, DVDs, whatever, we'll keep sharing it because you did such a great job, Kate. And like, kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I hope you have a great evening. And maybe we could talk to you around your next project sometime too.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yes, we'll be in touch.
Thank you once again, Kate, for your time, and thank you for making this beautiful film honoring the legacy of Luna Vachon. If there is an afterlife and she's watching down, I'm sure she is beyond fucking proud of the piece you put together. And I think it's so cool that people are going to be able to see more layers to her story and honor the legacy. What a legend. Kate talked about those found tapes from Wild Women of Wrestling, and that was actually my favorite part of this film, seeing those. I've never heard of that promotion, but seeing the clips, even around Luna, I was like, yo, this show looks lit. This looks fucking awesome. And if I was around and saw that on my TV, I'd be like a huge fan. Tune into all those episodes. But yeah, but like we said in the intro, we will let you know if Lunatic has more theatrical screenings coming up and when it's released, where it would be available. I know it's being produced by Raven Banner, and they do such an incredible job with documentaries and genre films. And for sure, you will be able to see this sooner than later. And before we go, I can't run away without thanking all you legends on the Patreon page who are supporting your boy out here on this podcast journey. And first up, the biggest thanks to the queen, Ola Mazuka of Sonic Fold. Just type in Sonic Fold on Instagram and you'll be able to check out some of Ola's amazing work, from soulful interviews to DJ sets, etc., etc. And another huge thanks to the wonderful Amanda McKnight of the Vamp X13 YouTube and the Vamp X13 Twitch channel. If you're into comic books, movies, video games, and all things nerdy, check out Vamp X13. Another huge thanks to the wonderful Jenny Potter, the legend Devin McBride, the number one gent Alan Kent, and last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. If you want to support the show and also get these episodes early, raw, uncut, right when I'm done the Zoom call, I just post them. You can go to patreon.com/thecreative-imbalance. It's only $4 a month. And beyond having my forever thanks, you can just go to bed at night and sleep soundly, knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports raw, uncut, independent media. And nobody can take that away from you. You hear me? With that being said, we got a lot of great stuff around the corner. About to blast you with a backlog of so many awesome interviews. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, and we'll catch you next time. Mwah.